Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your boy GrandmastaJ, and welcome. Today we are starting a brand new series called Why Nobody Plays, or Why Everybody Plays, but in this case it's Nobody Plays. And today we will be starting with a pretty controversial character, a character that'll make you saying, Josh, you're kind of a really stupid poo-poo head, okay? We will be talking about Ramlethal Valentine. Now, I can already hear you saying, but Josh, Ramlethal super duper strong. She beat me in Celestial all the time. I can't beat her for nothing due to whatever. And that is true. Ramlethal is super strong. As a matter of fact, we'll go over her strengths right now. First and foremost, she has one of the best neutral in the game. I mean, her run speed used to be way faster than this somehow, and yet it still feels very fast. She has quick run speed. She has very oppressive normals. That's for dang sure. It's very difficult to contest these normals, even with the whole 6P meta thing going on. Right, she has fantastic damage, right, and it's also like very accessible damage. That was barely a combo. I already did half health. She's a fantastic user of Wild Assault. I think it is. Nope, I do not know how to freaking. There it is. Whatever. You know, you get what I'm saying. She has this Rekka, which is super duper good and highly oppressive. So you might be wondering, what the frick are you talking about, Josh? What do you mean nobody plays her? Getting into that, you little poo-poo head. So here's the thing. In terms of like online play, sure, she's super good. She's super oppressive. But what I'm more so talking about is in pro play. Why do we not see her winning a bunch of majors? Why do we not see her, honestly, in Celestial that much anymore? Why do we not see her as often as we think that we should? And why do we think that we should be seeing her? Well, if I could take your attention to these are a bunch of tier lists by a bunch of pro players. As you can see, Zondo places her in S tier. Freaking Lord Knight places her in S tier. Jonathan Tene places her in top 2, right? Even Leffen puts her in S tier. Leffen tier lists are always kind of funky to me. But as you can see, Ramlethal, even if I keep scrolling down, I'm just going to keep scrolling down. Ramlethal has always been on top, or at the very least, very close to the top. So why is it that even though we see Ramlethal at the top of everybody's minds is like, oh my gosh, this character is super good. This character is super oppressive. Of course she's top tier. Why don't we see her win? So before we did used to see her win, that is when Zondo used to play her. Zondo brought her to Evo finalists, a bunch of major finalists. I'm pretty sure he won a few things with her as well. Zondo's a beast, all right? Zondo's a fantastic player, but we'll get to that. It's a story for a different day, okay? But once he stopped using her, we stopped seeing Ramlethal. And why is that? Well, is it just because Zondo's the only good player with her? Well, not really. I mean, yeah, he's fantastic, but I feel like it goes a little deeper than that. See, here's the thing. In a tournament format, a 2 out of 3 setting, there's a lot of factors that you have to take into play. Guilty Gear is a very fast game, and Ramlethal, I will say, has one big thing that's kind of holding her back. And allow me to demonstrate what that one thing is. If you would take a look at Ramlethal's health bar right up there, she is a little squishy little fun bag, okay? You touch her, she dies, she explodes, she implodes, she is super duper squishy. And don't just take my word for it. If you actually go over here to the Dust Loop page and we go back to this effective health setting right here, you can see Ramlethal is on the lower end of the spectrum. You have, she's very close to Eno, she's very close to Elfelt, very close to Testament, very close to Happy Chaos. Now, Happy Chaos wins things, but we'll get into that soon. Very close to Axel. She's kind of along with these other characters that you really don't see win that often. Of course, we have a few outliers, like Zato used to win a lot of stuff. Now he doesn't really anymore. But aside from that, you would be shocked to see Axel, you'd be shocked to see Bridget, and anything that is beyond a top 16. So if you'd like to observe something interesting with me, let's take a look back at these tier lists. So you can see in these tier lists with Ramlethal, you have characters like Sin, Sol, Gold, Lewis, Mei, Leo, Nago, Ryuki. Same thing over here, Sin, Gold, Lewis, Sol, Nago, Leo, Mei, Kai, all right? You have, you know, Nago, Soul, Gold Lewis. What do all these other characters have in common? Because here's the thing, Ramlethal does about as much damage as them. She has better neutral than some of them. She definitely is super, super good at fighting these characters. But why is it that Ramlethal's the only one who doesn't win? That's suspicious. If we were to take a peek back at this effective health counter, we have Nago's up here, Asuka's up here, Gold Lewis is up here. We got characters like Leo's up here, May's up here, Soul's up here. The thing is that Ramlethal she just dies too quick, and in a tournament setting where every hit matters, these characters are just going to be able to survive long enough in these unknown settings than Ramlethal's able to. Because of her health, when she's fighting a character like Soul, she has to worry about getting two-touched. May, she has to worry about getting two-touched. Nago, she has to worry about getting two-touched. All of the top characters that you see in tournaments, they're all capable of two-touching Ramlethal. Even a character like Leo, who actually has not super high damage, but has pretty average damage, he just has to hit her 1 to 2 times less than he otherwise would. And all these characters have something in common where they're able to eat Ramlethal's hits. They're able to survive Ramlethal interacting with her, or they're able to survive Ramlethal interacting with them, and therefore they have much more opportunities to be able to steal games from her. I feel like Ramlethal would work much better in a 2 out of 3 setting where she's able to get in, get her damage, and get the frick out. But in these longer sets, you have much more time to adapt to the playstyle of the Ramlethal player, and therefore you have much more time to just hit her and kill her, right? So that's just the thing. Now, because of this squishy health, it doesn't even just matter when she's fighting top tiers. It also matters when she's fighting characters that do well against her in neutral and just manage to outpace her. For example, Ramlethal has to worry about Millia. Millia's issue is that all these top tiers have super, super duper high health, and therefore it's very, very difficult for her to kill them. But Ramlethal has low health, so she only has to knock her down maybe like twice, 3 times, whereas opposed to Nago, she has to knock him down like 5, 6, 7 times sometimes. Same thing with Chip. Chip is known to be a pretty up there, but now he's kind of like went down as he's seen more natural predators in the bracket. But he only has to hit Ramlethal twice, 3 times maybe if he gets a bad hit. And the list goes on. Elfeld has to hit her less. Bridget has to hit her less. Geo has to hit her only twice, right? You have Axel has to hit her less. You can see the pattern here. Even like Baiken, who I feel like Ramlethal does better in neutral, Baiken only has to hit her twice, and Ramlethal has to hit her so many different times. So I feel like what's interesting is that it doesn't even necessarily come down to how strong is Ramlethal, but more so a question of how important is health, and do the strengths of the character outweigh the amount of health that they have? If we take a look at Zato also has low health. He has like, I think, what is it, like 3rd lowest health in the game, 2nd to 3rd lowest health in the game. The thing about Zato is that Zato is very good at zoning. Zato is very good at not interacting. Zato is very good at locking down the opponent and having his way. I wonder what character sounds very similar to that. Well, it's actually Happy Chaos. Happy Chaos is the exact same situation. He does not have to interact with you as many times as you have to interact with him, right? Or that's not the right thing to say. It's more so that you just simply cannot interact with him. Ramlethal is more so a brawler. Ramlethal wants to get in your face. She doesn't want to get all the way in your face, but she wants to play this very comfortable mid-range. And at that very comfortable mid-range, she is susceptible to characters like Soul, Gold Lewis, Nago. She's susceptible to these characters hitting her and killing her. They don't have to think twice. They only have to hit her twice. She has to hit them like 2, maybe 3 times. The only issue is that why Wild Assault exists in the game, right? Soul is also extremely good at using Red Wild Assault, and he just does more damage than her. Nago also has Wild Assault in the game. I feel like you guys can kind of see the pattern here. So will she ever win? Now that's a question for how is the game going to progress, or like how are we going to see the game change in season 4? I feel like some of the things that requires Ramlethal to win is 1, a specialist who just knows all these matchups. And that's another thing too that I didn't even touch into. Ramlethal's been out since the beginning of the game. We know how to fight Ramlethal. We know how to deal with her stuff. As more and more characters come out, for example, like you have Slayer, you have Elfeld, you have, Like even Gold Lewis with his White Wildest all having to deal with that entirely different matchup, right? You have Asuka. As all these new characters come out, right, Ramlethal has to learn more, whereas the players who are picking up these new characters have to learn far less because they already know what Ramlethal does. I mean, she does the exact same thing. It's just, it's not comparable. So back on the topic of will she ever win? What will it take for her to win? What will it take for people to pick her back up again? I feel like Ramlethal's in an interesting spot. She's in a weird purgatory where she is clearly one of the best characters in the game. Clearly, we all know that. But her weaknesses, aka her one weakness, her health, might deter some folk who are not really loyalists from actually picking her up in a bracket, or maybe they might have to pick up a sub, which is very interesting for one of the best characters in the game, right? It's a very weird kind of dichotomy. So we'll just have to see what season 4 brings. Maybe they'll have to tone down the damage of some of these characters. Maybe they'll just have to tone down the Wild Assault. Maybe they'll just have to buff her health a little bit. But I feel as though if you do so, we run the risk of Ramlethal being too broken. So maybe it just does require a specialist who knows how to play all these different matchups, who knows how to play very, very defensive. Zondo was a very, very good at defense, I should say. Not a defensive player, but he was very good at defense. So we need to see a player who has that same comparable levels of defense, because Ramlethal requires more defense than other characters in that same tier do. But I'm not going to beat the horse to death, the dead horse to death. I don't know what the fudge is that saying. I'm not going to beat it to death. That is all I have for you guys today. Ramlethal, great character, but honestly, it's just a case of she's too squishy, man. You touch her, boop, she dies. So, you know, it's really holding her back. We'll see how that goes. I think you make baby squishy. Hey, speaking of squishy, look at my baby. That's all I got for you guys today. Say goodbye, baby. Bye.